Hardened towards the gospel, hardened towards Christ, hardened towards the Lord's servant. The third conclusion is that Paul is spared and lived to witness another day. Verse 23 of the chapter tells us that Felix commanded a centurion to keep Paul and to let him have liberty, that he should forbid none of his acquaintance to minister or come unto him. He's still held as a prisoner, but not under the same conditions. He's given some measure of liberty. His friends are able to come and minister to him. And Paul has opportunity to labor for Christ another day. Felix does not hand him back to the Jews. He does not sentence him to death. He does not hold him in harsh prison surroundings. And there are reasons for that. Why is Paul spared at this time? Because God still has a work for him to do. There are further opportunities for Paul to seize in regard to witnessing for Christ. He must witness before Felix and his wife. He must witness before Festus. He must witness before King Agrippa. Paul has to go to Rome. The Lord told him he would be in Rome. And nothing, not even the lies of the Jewish Sanhedrin, could prevent that. Not even the weakness of the Roman governor could prevent it. Paul must be at Rome. Because Paul's times were in God's hands. God was with him. God was for him. And God was going to use him. And nothing was going to frustrate the purposes of God. And so we find in chapter 24 at the end, Paul has witness opportunities still to come. Chapter 25 and chapter 26, the same. This solitary man of God, with an opportunity to preach the unsearchable riches of Christ before the King himself. And he must be there. And so his life is spared at this time, because God has something more for him to do. Not only is it true that Paul's times were in God's hands, it's also true that our times are in God's hands too. These are evil days. Just look across the world. But believer, Christ is on the throne. And it may be his will he brings us into times of trouble. It may be his will that he spares us from the worst of trouble. Whatever his will is, he's still on the throne. And our times are in his hands. May God give us grace to stand for him, to be faithful soldiers of Jesus Christ, and to pray with greater intensity than ever before. To pray for those brothers and sisters in Christ who are finding themselves in deep, deep trouble for Christ's sake.